Hey guys, Drew here bringing you guys another video. Today we're going to be talking about Fleet Tech and PR2. Now there are some differences between PR1 and PR2. If you're more interested in the basics of PR ships, you know how to develop them, blueprints and stuff like that, I do have a PR1 video that covers the basics of PR ships. You can find it in the description box down below. However, we're going to be talking about PR2 and fleet technology. There's some major differences between PR1 and PR2, and the biggest one being the fleet technology requirements. I'm going to be talking about how to get fleet technology, what it does and stuff like that. So let's get into it. So fleet technology is basically a sort of points that you get per faction, and you can get them in 3 different ways. The first way to get fleet tech for a specific faction is to unlock a new ship from that faction. So basically the first time that you get a ship, you'll get fleet tech points towards that faction. The second way to get fleet tech points is to max limit break your ship. So whenever you max limit break a ship, you will receive further fleet tech points in that ship's faction. So you can max limit break a ship once it gets to level 70 if you wanted to. So you don't have to get them all the way to 100 if you want to just max limit break them just for fleet tech, but that's a bit of a later game thing. So once you start leveling up your ships and max limit breaking them, you'll start naturally receiving more fleet tech towards these factions. And then lastly, the last way to get fleet tech points is to get a ship to level 120. So once a ship reaches 120, you'll get even more fleet tech towards that faction and some stat bonuses. So as you can see here, if you click on each one of these, I have my Eagle Union, for example, right now at level 6. Every time you reach the threshold for the points, you'll be able to upgrade the level of the faction fleet tech. It does cost coins and it takes a few hours, but it'll give you all of these stats. Now, all of these stats will apply to all of these ship types, regardless of the faction, only if they're max limit broken. So all of these stats will affect max limit broken ships of this type. So for instance, every max limit broken cruiser, light cruiser that I have will get 3 firepower and 3 reload, regardless of the faction. They don't have to be Eagle Union. So that's a nice thing. And as you can see, all of these add up. So across the 4 different factions, you'll actually be stacking up quite a bit of stats. So over time, once you get into the later game, it does help quite a bit in order to get some extra bonus stats on your ships. So as you start unlocking ships and getting the fleet tech points for these, the faction fleet tech starts adding up. You'll be able to level up your factions, get even more points towards your ships, and yeah, it'll help you get some stats on later on. So if you hop into the fleet section of this screen here, we can actually take a look at each individual ship to show what fleet tech points it gives us. For instance, if I click on Baltimore here, when I unlocked Baltimore, she gave me 15 fleet tech points just for unlocking it. And then furthermore, every heavy cruiser, every monitor, and every large cruiser received 1 HP. Again, this applies to max limit broken ships of any faction. So all heavy cruisers, all monitors, all large cruisers received 1 HP as long as they're max limit broken. Once I max limit broke Baltimore, you reach fleet tech to 30 points. So we got an extra 30 points into my Eagle Union fleet tech. And then lastly, when she got to 120, I got 23 fleet tech points. And then in addition to that, all my heavy cruisers, monitors, and large cruisers received 1 firepower. All heavy cruisers, monitors, and large cruisers that are max limit broken. So again, this slowly adds up. Bremerton over here, I haven't gone her to 120 yet, but I've gotten the unlock 15 fleet tech, the max limit break 30 fleet tech, and once I get her to 120, I'll get an additional 23 fleet tech. Now, this is not the only use for fleet tech. This is actually very important. It's actually required for unlocking the PR2 ships. So if we take a look at the PR2 ships here, I've actually unlocked all of them already. If I'll finish developing, let's use some FDG prints over here. But essentially, in order to start the development for these ships, you need to reach a certain level of fleet tech points for that faction. Unlike PR1, where you can just pick one and go, and whichever one you want, PR2 actually requires fleet tech points. So you need to have some level of collection already, some ships max limit broken and leveled up, in order to start development on any of these ships. For instance, Seattle requires 760 USS fleet tech points, so you're going to have to start leveling up some USS ships, start max limit breaking them, start acquiring any new ones that you can. Kitakaze, same thing, requires a certain amount of fleet tech. You need to work on your collection a little bit, start leveling ships up, max limit breaking them, and then being able to reach the fleet tech requirements in order to start the development of these ships. Once you've reached the fleet tech requirements and you start the development of a PR2 ship, one of the major differences between PR1 and PR2 is the ships that you can use for combat experience requirements. Now, as you know, when you do a priority PR ship, you are required to use the ships of that same hull type and same faction in order to gain combat experience that the ship needs in PR1. In PR2, it's a little bit different. You still need the same faction ships, but you don't require the same hull type. For example, for Monarch, you required battleships or battle cruisers. In this case, for Georgia, for instance, she's a USS battleship. She only requires USS backliners. Any backliner you want, you can use. You can use carriers, you can use Enterprise, Saratoga, and stuff like that. So you're not pigeonholed into a specific hull type. You're actually allowed to use any Vanguard ship, any mainline ship, depending on the ship that you're doing research on. So if it's a backline ship, so Georgia, FTG, Gascon, you can use any backline ship from those factions. And then for Kitakaze, Seattle, and Azuma, which are the frontline ships, you can use any frontline ship for that faction. For example, Kitakaze, she's a destroyer, but you can use IGN cruisers in order to get the combat experience that you need for that ship. So there's one of the differences, PR1 and PR2. Once you do unlock the development of PR2 ships, it's actually a little bit easier to unlock them afterwards. The hard part, honestly, is just getting that fleet tech requirement. That is a little bit harder for newer players because, for example, ships like FTG, they require a fairly high Iron Blood fleet tech, I believe 630. So they actually require 630 Iron Blood fleet tech, but a lot of the KMS ships in the game are event locked. So if you miss some of the KMS events, you're not going to have enough ships to be able to even max limit break, or even if you got them to 120. I don't know if you can get them all to 120 if that would be enough, but it's just not feasible. You don't have enough KMS ships in order to get enough fleet tech. So that's one of the downsides about PR2 right now, is the fact that some of them are event locked. FTG, you just don't have enough KMS ships unless you have played through at least one of the German events, I believe. So that's a little unfortunate, but there's 5 other ones that you can start with: Gascon, Seattle, Georgia, Kitakaze. The first 3, especially Seattle, Georgia, Kitakaze, are fairly easy to get because they're just USS frontline, USS backline, and IGN frontline. So USS fleet tech is fairly easy to get. You have a lot of ships. You have Cleveland, Helena, Portland, Phoenix, just off the top of my head. Lots of USS ships. Same with IGN. There's a lot of IGN drop-only ships in the game. You have Isuzu, Ikazuchi, Inazuma, Jinsu, Sendai, Agano, Hosho, Chokai. So there's a lot of IGN ships, drop only ships that will give you the fleet tech just for the unlock, and then after that you can maximum break them if you wanted to in order to get enough fleet tech to start working on Kitakaze. But again, the hard part is just getting the fleet tech in order to be able to start the development of these ships. One of the new things that PR2 also introduced was the addition of DR ships. So I mentioned FTG earlier. FTG here and Azuma are both decisive rarity ships. They are DR ships. So what that means is that they need more resources and more combat experience in order to unlock. So once you have the fleet tech and you can start working on their development. The actual development itself requires much more resources. It requires about 20% more experience, I think. And then on top of that, they have these what are now called DR blueprints. So they're different color than, for example, Kitakazu's are yellow and Azuma's here are rainbow in the background. So that means that they are decisive rarity blueprints. The thing about DR blueprints is that they are much more rare than PR blueprints. DR blueprints, you only get 10 per event as opposed to the 30 general blueprints that you get for PR ships. Research tasks that give you DR prints give you much lower amounts of DR prints than a PR print task would. In addition to that, they also require many more blueprints in order to reach dev level 30. A regular PR ship requires 343 blueprints to reach dev level 30. A DR ship requires 513 DR blueprints to get to dev level 30. So this makes getting a dev level 30 DR ship an extremely long-term goal. It's going to take possibly over a year to get the enough blueprints to be able to get a DR ship to dev level 30. It's a long-term goal. Mine's just barely, FTG's barely going into 25, and I've used all of the general DR blueprints that I've managed to get on FTG. Azuma's dev 14 because I've been kind of neglecting her. It's because I want to get FTG as high as possible. So this is a long-term goal. So DR is a new addition to PR2. Higher rarity, much stronger ships, but much longer in order to max out and get to dev level 30 and require more resources during their development. One final difference between PR1 and PR2 ships as of right now is that once you get a PR2 ship to dev 30, such as my Seattle here, if I get a PR1 ship to dev 30, there's this thing called Fate Simulation where you're able to use any additional blueprints to increase the ship's luck. So right now here I have my Monarch at Fate Sim 2. Once a PR2 ship gets to dev 30, that's it. There's no Fate Sim right now for PR2 ships. So what you would do with your extra blueprints, if you got any, is what you would go into the shop, you would go to munitions, you'd go to prototype, and here you can actually trade in any extra blueprints that you have. I don't have any right now, but every single PR blueprint that you have extra that from a ship that you already have at dev level 30 will give you 5 of these prototype cores. So you can get 1 extra blueprint that you have from a dev 30 ship turns into 5 prototype cores, and then you can buy general blueprints for other ships so you can use them. So for an example, I'm at 110 prototype cores. I could buy a few of these general blueprints that I could put towards Georgia or Gascon. Or if I really save up, if I save up to 120, I can get 1 DR print to go towards Friedrich der Grosse or Azuma. So that's the use that they've come up with in order to be able to still have use for PR2 prints for ships that you've gotten to dev 30. You just bring them over here, turn them into prototype cores, and you're able to buy more general blueprints for the ships that you haven't gotten to dev 30 yet. And in this case, I would highly recommend, well, at least I am going to, is I'm just going to save up as much as possible to buy as many DR generals, even though they're super expensive. Every single one is one step closer from the 513 that I need to get my FTG to dev 30. So yeah, so this is one other difference between PR1 and PR2 is that there's no fate sim. You bring the prints over here, and then you're able to turn them for prototype cores to buy other general prints. So once again, to summarize, guys, PR2 requires Fleet Tech points in order to unlock the development of ships. You get Fleet Tech points from leveling up your ships to 120, max limit breaking a ship, or for the first time that you unlock a ship. So here's Rune Unlock, max limit break, and level 120. So you'll get Fleet Tech, unlock the development of ships, and in the meantime as well, Fleet Tech also gives you a bunch of stats. All of these will apply to max limit broken ships of these types, as well as individual ships will actually also give small stat bonuses to certain types of ships. Again, max limit broken, regardless of faction, they just have to be max limit broken, and these types of ships will receive these bonus stats. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it helped a little bit. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. We do have a Discord server. If you guys want to check it out, full of Evangeline players. I'll leave the invite link to the Discord server in the description box down below. If you guys like my content, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And I also stream on Twitch, Azur, twice a week, roughly, twitch.tv/Jero1. Come check it out. And thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.